Yeah, upper echelon. Dragon Age Veil garbage. Interesting that he would point it like that. I'm curious.
All right, I'm a little bit late here considering the launch of the game, the controversy, and the outpouring of opinions over the past weekend or so, but having finally sat down and played a substantial portion of Dragon Age Veilguard, I thought it was time to weigh in, give my thoughts, my opinions, and explain why this is very much not a good game for an abundance of reasons well and truly beyond the political discourse, and I am quite frankly baffled completely by the level of praise that I've been seeing when the impressions I have personally are overwhelmingly negative. First things first, because I think it's important to clarify this right off the bat here.
So my history with Dragon Age is I played the original Dragon Age, Dragon Age Origins. Fantastic game, wonderful. If you are also into Berserk, this is the recommendation because this game is crazy good. It is absurd. Dragon Age 2 was okay. I liked it, but you could tell that this game was rushed. You could tell. Uh, I didn't play Inquisition. I heard nothing. I heard like it was okay-ish, mid, if anything. I think it also, but it's still one game of the year. But I've heard it was mid. Um, aside from that, um, also this game is not Dragon Age. This game has nothing to do with Dragon Age. Dragon Age is dark fantasy. For a Dragon Age game, there's not much Dragon Age in this. Where does the game look like Genshin but with a different style? The original Dragon, like the first, like the other three don't look like that. This looks very much cartoonish. I said it before. This would have very much fit for the new Fable. Yeah, Genshin, get out. Genshin is as. I agree.
The game isn't bad because it's woke. That's a Trojan horse line of criticism, in my view. You can do it, but it kind of torpedoes the efficacy of much more important issues, of which there are many. It's not bad because of a certain quest line that makes you trans. It's not bad because of the cringe dialogue section about how your companion is non binary. It's not bad because they decided to put pronouns in the character creator or have top scars and vitiligo as creation options. It's bad because it's actually bad design, and it's a complete betrayal of the Dragon Age franchise for anyone who used to be fans of the world building, atmosphere, and raw gameplay. However, just to put all of my cards on the table,
I mean, the woke still makes it bad. The woke still makes it bad. And I actually disagree. Dialogue is really important for a game. If the dialogue is bad, like, sure, I'll enjoy the combat, but I'm not gonna listen to the story because the dialogue is bad. So yeah, a horrendous dialogue can make a game bad.
before really kicking it off, all of those things are extremely obnoxious. It feels like this game was made by and for Twitter activists, unironically. And while that seems to be a very heavily focused on aspect for the game's most vocal critics, what I care about is raw gameplay. It's a video game, not a movie or a book, and the primary determining factor behind what is or is not a good video game, at least to me, in my view, is how fun it is to play, not how annoyed I get with the perceived politics. With that said, I'll break everything down into three categories: story, which includes dialogue, quests, narrative, etc., combat, which is pretty self explanatory, and general design, which is things like layout, visuals, loot drops, etc. Between those three categories, I think it'll become clear why I think the game is subpar. And one final side note before I get going: I have not finished the game's main storyline yet. I do not plan to continue playing it, and I think that calling this a full on review is probably unfair as a result of that. So this is my impressions of Veilguard and a descriptive explanation of why I think the game is not worth my time to play. Here goes. Let's start with story. Veilguard has a pretty rudimentary storyline where you have to defeat two elven gods, which I have not done, but right from the start it pivots away from the expected main villain, that villain being Solus, who's trying to take down the Veil, after you pretty much defeat him immediately and move on to assembling a party and doing various missions. This is where my experience rapidly began falling apart because after the first 20 to 40 minutes of the game, you start actually experiencing what it has to offer, and what the game has to offer is garbage. During my very first
Write down immediately, right? What the game has to offer is garbage. Interesting. This looks Nothing. By the way, I'm subscribed. I like that you don't support developers forcing certain things on players. Thank you, appreciate it. I just think like if you want to put these things in games, do it in a way that it feels natural. I like to put it back to a JRPG that I really like to play on Xbox 360. It was The Last Remnant. The main character was gay. Nobody fucking cared that he was gay, though. Nobody cared. It's only a problem when you force it down people's throats and make it like this encapsulating thing that makes this character this character. Because there's a difference between a gay character and a character that's just gay. A gay character is where it is the main focus of that character. And the character that's gay is just, he's gay, great. I just like, put these things in so it feels natural.
First gameplay session, I caught myself laughing, not because of genuine humor, but because of the absurdity, when one of my party members yelled out, "It's quiet. Too quiet." Sure, you can argue that it's a fun little cliche line, but something felt really off about the delivery of that line, and I couldn't help but feel in the back of my mind that this kind of surface level depth was about to become extremely common. Spoiler alert, I was right. It does. A few minutes later, one of my companions says to the other one, "Wait, so you're really Nev Gallus?" Continuing on with some flattery.
This does not look, I don't know, but this does not look like Dragon Age. This looks, if anything, this looks like the Lord of the Rings game on the PlayStation 3 with like the war in the north. It is just way too bright. There's nothing gritty about this. What is this? Now that I see more gameplay, it's just like, where's my Dragon Age? What has happened?
Driven exposition dump, but these two companions had already met each other a long time ago. We were traveling together for a decent amount of time, and the fact that one character, who very obviously already knows that the other character is Nev Gallus, was saying this random line at some random point in time, and it made absolutely no sense, once again making me laugh for all the wrong reasons.
It's also that, what I really don't like, if you were wounded in Dragon Age Origins, Dragon Age 2, and I think Inquisition, you had like blood all over you. Also, by the way, if I might be wrong, but if I remember correctly, it is interesting because they removed spiders from the game because they thought it might be too scary for people that are scared of spiders. It is really weird.
After that, I heard a party member say, quote, "This blight is weird." And I pretty much lost it again until an even better moment where I ran up against a massively overleveled boss enemy, died immediately in seconds because I didn't even have my hands on the keyboard at the time and I was typing a message on my phone. And I was faced with a companion saying some variation of, "Wow, we were so close that time."
Raven, are you trying to still mock me again? Woman.
No, we weren't. How hard would it have been to code in some sort of if then criteria trigger where your party members only talk about how close the fight was when you actually get close to killing the boss monster or deal any damage to it whatsoever? Let's say 20% of its health bar left. And genuinely, sincerely, it all goes downhill from there. Eventually, I met the game's biggest joke of a character, the one who also just so happens to be the very vocally non binary one, and ran up against a new type of enemy. Enemies are bland and extremely annoying because of how long they take to kill on higher difficulties, but I'll get to that part later on in the combat section. Yeah, encountering this new enemy type led to a sort of 1-2 punch type dialogue exchange where this non binary party member says, "Be ready for those new enemies. They go hard," which is modern day slang.
That is so off-putting. That is so off-putting. If I play a medieval game, you better talk in a medieval way. The heck? Well, might as well do no spiders, no clowns, no snakes, no skeletons. I had also that problem with like not only to shit on Veilguard, I'm gonna shit on Monster Hunter Wilds as well. They turn you have like a at least like you have like a trigger to not turn it off and on, so I guess that's okay. But Monster Hunter Wilds it's something similar where every enemy that might like every monster that might trigger arachnophobia um you have like a toggle for that, but that's not too bad. It's just a toggle. I just wonder how that would work for bigger monsters because there's a big spider in that game. Uh, they just turn like into like greenish blobs. It's really weird. But I guess it's okay because it's just a toggle. Here it is not a toggle. They have no spiders in this game. When the original had spiders. I don't understand why would they take out stuff just because it can scare someone. Then they wouldn't play the game. I don't like spiders, but I don't care if they're in my games. It's like with that is the result of if you try to appeal to everyone. That's a result of trying to appeal to everyone. Where like you can't put anything in a game because it might be triggering. Absolute hot take. It's not a hot take. It would have been normal 5 to 10. No, actually 10 years ago. Not everything that is out there is for you. There are video games out there that don't see you as the target audience. There's music out there that you are not the target audience of. And that's okay. You don't need to feel included into everything. It's okay to just have spaces for this. It's okay to just have spaces for that. It's okay. Instead, you get this amalgamation of like whatever this is, like this soft cushion thingy. I'm triggered by orange hair, just kidding. I'm triggered by ravens and crows.
It feels completely disjointed coming from a Kunari, and once again made me feel like the game was a joke. Right after that, okay, like it would have been okay perhaps if I had a little bit more time in between to like cleanse my.
Whatever happened to the Kunari in Dragon Age, it should be considered a crime. It should be considered a crime. Look up Kunari, Dragon Age Origins, look up Kunari, Dragon Age 2, and then look up the Veilguard. Whatever this is, it is not the Kunari. What have you done to them? Truly being feminized. It is crazy. The difference is insane.
Metaphorical palette. Right after that, okay, she says, whatever, they say, eat shit, this isn't your land. In such an unexpectedly cringe way. I felt like a Twitter activist had literally hacked my game and started speaking into my headphones. That's the whole colonizers are evil trope, which is fine, whatever. But they go hard.
A lot of people don't notice that, but video games nowadays feel like they are made for Twitter users. Just look at Dustborn, Star Wars Outlaws, Concord. These literally are either for game journalists or Twitter users.
And eat shit. Yeah, this doesn't feel like a Dragon Age game. It feels like a Tumblr fan fiction writer got full control of a AAA narrative and just couldn't stop themselves from screwing it up with contemporary bullshit. It didn't take long for me.
The people that used Tumblr should have stayed on Tumblr or just like stayed on Reddit and never left that whatever that is. Their little corner. They get like a little like some newspaper in the corner where they can take a shit and piss on and just like stay in their place. I don't care.
For me to just stop caring totally about what party members were saying because the things that they say are idiotic. They sound like morons, they disrupt your experience with their random shouting, and the things that they say aren't funny or immersive. They're obnoxious. I stopped writing them down at this point because I realized that dialogue choices don't matter. Party members don't have independent perspectives and emotions. It's a mile wide and an inch deep, with an overabundance of things that make you physically cringe. As for quest design, it's about as linear as you.
You want a game with amazing combat dialogue and dialogue in general with a wonderful, memorable cast and super enjoyable and lovable characters? Every single Xenoblade game. Play every single Xenoblade game. They all have wonderful companions, wonderful dialogue. These characters are lovable. It is insane. And I've never seen characters that interact with each other that well since I played all of 4 games. Absolute recommendation. If you have a Switch, it is a crime to not play these 4 games now in March. It is crazy. Uh, but even like in Origins, the cast interacts wonderful with each other. In Dragon Age 2, the same. So apparently, it means, if I understand this correctly, the cast that does not have any synergy. Interesting.
You can get with a spattering of quests where some of them feel mildly interesting, maybe, and others feel pointless. I wasn't excited to pick up a new one, and I wasn't excited when they got finished because it didn't feel like I had actually achieved anything. They're all virtually the same anyway. I wasn't shaping the world or discovering new things. I was advancing through a monotonous chain of actions that I didn't care about with people that annoyed me. And sure, you can say, well, that's a personal problem. I loved it. But I find it very hard to believe that anyone out there praising this game actually thinks that the depth of dialogue and character immersion is even remotely comparable to previous Dragon Age games, because it's not. It's frankly insulting to anyone who enjoyed the franchise before this, and it's a completely new direction that is being praised by some writers as fantastic, despite looking and feeling like juvenile trash.
Remember, IGN gave this game a 9 out of 10. And the new Mario and Luigi game got a stupid, I'm gonna curse, fucking 5 out of 10. That is worse than Dustborn, that is worse than Concord. What is this?
Suffice it to say, I think the narrative, writing, dialogue, and even voice acting slash character modeling in this game is very subpar. There were these really funny but depressing moments where certain characters would make demented looking facial expressions, like the corners of their mouth like all lurching around. It's terrible. Or they'd prance around jogging in a super unnatural way as you follow them. But the point of this entire section is to say that when playing Dragon Age Veilguard, I was annoyed by what I experienced, not immersed. But wait, because that's only the beginning. And if we're talking about problems, which we are, combat.
This looks so much. This looks so much like Fable. This looks way too close to Fable. I'm triggered by red and blue eyes. Oh no! Don't stare into mine. The only lines that games has are, "I was a adventurer like you until I took an arrow to the knee." IGN gave Dragon Ball Sparking Zero a 7. I'm gonna say it. Sparking Zero is cooked. Sparking Zero is absolutely cooked. The online mode is unplayable at this point. You only get Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta, Ultra Instinct Goku, for a while Yajirobe. This game's cooked.
That is a veritable cornucopia of poor decision making. Briefly summarizing before I get to specific details here, the combat has adopted a sort of Mass Effect Andromeda system of comboed abilities. Except Mass Effect Andromeda does it far better. During combat, you have 3 of your own abilities and then 2 companions.
Damn, I never expected to hear Mass Effect Andromeda praise. Ever.
Who each get 3 more. It is extremely rudimentary and basically involves spam dodging all over the place using abilities off cooldown to whittle away at the enemy's health bars. Just to be perfectly plain, it is very much not a difficult game. It just takes forever to kill anything, on the harder difficulties at least, which is what I played on. You spend a disproportionate amount of time dodging around until you can actually deal some damage, and the frantic pacing is a very poor way to mask how shallow the combat really is, especially when you combine it with a skill tree that is completely uninteresting. The skill tree nodes feel empty, half of them do things that you really don't care about, nor would you ever care about if attempting to make any sort of specialized build, for instance, a high damage DPS class cannon. You just can't really do those types of things. And the overall depth, yet again, feels like a puddle. Big surface area, no depth. Incremental upgrades are like frosting on a cake, in my view. If the cake itself tastes good, that is, if the combat is fun to play, the frosting and the sprinkles are appreciated. But when the cake is just
Interesting. So the entire like skill tree is a whole lot of nothing. Then why even have a skill tree in that kind of way? You might like complicated net of skills. You might as well just implement a list. This is a whole lot of nothing.
uncooked batter with no flavor, covering it with 5 types of different colored frosting, in this case, the runes for your dagger and the level ups for your gear with enchantments and skill tree nodes, covering it with an overabundance of frosting, does nothing to fix the underlying problem, which is boring one dimensional combat. Look at this, okay? Look at this right here. This is the previous Dragon Age format, clips from Inquisition and even Origins as well. This kind of macro decision making, combined with the capability of crafting your own tactical rule sets for different party members, allows you to feel a level of battlefield control that is very much appreciated and fun. Characters do different things. They
Oh my god, I'm getting nostalgia overdrive. Look at that. The original Dragon Age. Man, look how gritty that looks and dark and like just like yeah. No shit, your companion was a dog also. You got a dog as a companion. I'm not kidding.
feel like they have unique value. Dragon Age Veilguard has basically none of that, instead, favoring a very boring, sad, frantic yet predictable combat framework that legitimately feels closer to a mobile game than a real Dragon Age product. Try this on for size. Healing has been condensed down to a very simple 3 potion system. You either get healed by a party member with an ability, use an ability of your own, or use one of your 3 potions. But the way that you get potion refills is by shooting green urns, bright green urns, scattered across the whole map. You don't craft them, you don't get them as drops, you run around the world where there's just hundreds of bright green urns, and whenever you want more potions, you go shoot one, because there's probably one 15 feet away from you. It's like a mobile game. I have a genuine question here for anyone who likes this game and wants to give it an 8 or a 9 out of 10. Was there no better way to do this? There was nothing they could have done that was more creative than just bright green urns all over the place that drop a single potion when shot.
So, if I get this straight, okay? You pretty much can't really die. Because, like, you can heal everywhere. There's everywhere little, like, these little, like, potion thingies laying around. Man, that's boring.
I find it impossible to believe that this, after the depth of systems we had in previous Dragon Age products, is actually a good thing, because it isn't a good thing. It's lazy and it's boring. Here's another comparison. The ballista in this game is an arcadey joke. You have a couple very early moments of using it, and I couldn't help but think every single time I used it. Think back to like Dragon's Dogma 2, where using a ballista felt like a battle changing weapon, man. It felt impactful. It was a huge, powerful device where cranking off a shot actually meant something, had like really visceral feedback. But
Oh, this is Dragon's Dogma. This is Dragon's Dogma 2, I assume so.
Dragon Age Veilguard has once again opted for a gimmicky, cheap feeling mechanic that just spams out shots and makes me think of a phone game that you play on the toilet or in the doctor's office before they call you in for the appointment. Nothing about this combat makes me feel invested, and everything about it makes me wish I was playing any other one of about 15 similar products that just do every single aspect of it better. Now for the final nail in the coffin, which is general design. See, Dragon Age Veilguard isn't just predictable with its combat, it's predictable with its level design. Why they chose this, I'll probably never understand, but most of the doors that you encounter during the extremely linear levels that you play are blocked by something. At first, it's fine, okay, you shoot the debris, walk through the door, cool. But after a while, you notice the repetition. Shoot the debris, go through. Shoot the wall, it breaks, go through. And then shoot the blight pod, it blows up, walk through the hole. Eventually, though, they decided, why just make them shoot the door once to get through it? Why not add more steps? After which you start having to shoot the surrounding blight pods that are connected back to the main one.
This is some Genshin level puzzle solving. This is some Genshin level puzzle solving for a AAA title. This is insane.
One, and then you can shoot the main one to go through the door. Or how about a reskin? Now you shoot the red crystal and go through the door. Now you shoot the crystals in a chain and go through the door. And on and on and on. It's so stupid. Why do you need to have so many doors blocked by such rudimentary puzzle mechanics? Why do you need to spend our time shooting these stupid little gimmicks one after another, just to walk through a door to a new area again and again, where you'll once again.
Either they think the players are retarded, or they just want you to have more playtime. I don't know how that affects the interest in the game, but you do you.
And fight 6 of the same enemies who have way too much health and require 0 tactical effort. Why punctuate the already boring combat design with boring level design? And why in the world are people praising this game? Check this out. There is a jump button, default coded to F in my case for some reason, but you can play like 99% of the game without ever jumping, despite the fact that they have literal jump puzzles. You'll do a thing and your party member will like spawn a mystical platform so you can get to the other side of the ravine, but you can just run straight at the damn thing off the edge roughly 100% of the time and then climb up the other side. Why put in jump puzzles when the edges are so close together you can just accidentally fall off yet still climb up like nothing happened? It's like taking a test that's multiple choice, but they made all 4 answers the same thing. Yeah, it's multiple choice and you have to fill one in, but it straight up doesn't matter which one because they're all the same. You essentially can't fail, so why take the test? Why have the jump puzzle when, like, I just don't understand. Connecting back to the combat.
So, jump button is useless. Okay. I mean, not too much a crazy point, I guess. I guess that's fine. I mean, in Xenoblade, you can quite literally jump, but it doesn't... Most of the time, it doesn't do much. You only need, like, for, like, ramps and, like, if you need to jump over a small little ledge, but aside from that, you don't really need to jump.
Combat loot is just super underwhelming, but the design aspect of it is that you never have to go more than like 10 steps off the beaten path to find all of it. It's always right around the corner, or barely hidden behind a bush, or even puzzles like rotating statues, but you can just run around randomly pressing the levers for a few seconds, and ta-da, you solved the puzzle. Here's your reward, more loot that doesn't matter. The days of finding a special area.
So, no exploration. 0. Nothing. Because usually when games have loot, you usually have like at least some kind of exploration aspect of it as well. That is also missing. This is not. This only has the Dragon Age name, but it's not Dragon Age. It is not even close to Dragon Age. Whatever this is.
Area way off the beaten trail and fighting a difficult enemy that you have to like min-max your kit to even attempt the battle, and then finding gear that actually matters after you win, gear which genuinely makes you stronger, are gone in this franchise. Because the stuff you find is mostly useless, you find it with 0 effort, and it's located immediately to your left or right or below you or whatever, in a shocking display of let's dumb the content down to the lowest common denominator and ruin a franchise. Why did they break so far from something that was, despite its many flaws, so appreciated and fun? Why would they redefine the franchise into this really juvenile display of arcadey on-rails storytelling when the previous Dragon Age games were the antithesis of that? What was the purpose of going down the contemporary social politics route and making sure that they stuck modern-day social media discourse, and slang as well, into a long-standing franchise that comparably none of that existed?
The answer to this is very simple. The people running this company, the people playing, the people making these games, aren't gamers. They're activists with programming skills, and they cannot create. They have to take existing IPs, because that's the only way that this can somewhat succeed, which it doesn't, because we currently know that there's 30,000 refunds, which is crazy, still, and potentially more actually. Um, I think it was at most like 500,000 copies sold, by the way, as well. So yeah, the answer is very simple. They cannot create, because if they create new stuff, it's gonna fail.
In previous entries. And why on earth is this game being praised by so many media figures when it's objectively bad for the majority of one's playtime? BioWare has produced games that have humor before, obviously, don't get me wrong, but there's something different and something so obviously forced with this game to a point where a character is yelling, no joke.
Because when you look who worked at this game, you will realize that the team that was responsible for Dragon Age no longer is with BioWare. It's like I'm taking a team that made the Metroid Prime series and I replace it completely, and then I wonder why the newest Metroid Prime, which is not the case, but just as an argument, if the newest Metroid Prime feels weird. There's only one game I care about that's gonna come out, and no, it will not fail. They take a long time for every small detail, so I don't think they will ruin it. I hope so as well, but you never know. You will never know.
Eat shit, this isn't your land, right after they go hard. And someone wrote that, then approved it, then voice acted it, and not one person with decision
This may sound sexist, but this was very likely a woman.
making power in the entire corporate chain stepped back and realized, wait, this is stupid. Maybe we shouldn't make a game like this. I understand the argument that the game removes some of the more menial tasks that Inquisition perhaps kind of suffered from. I understand that having on rails linear storytelling is not intrinsically worse than an open world experience, especially if that open world experience is sparsely populated and boring. But Dragon Age Veilguard is such a dull, uninteresting experience, I'm not even going to finish it. And believe me, the Dragon Age franchise overall is something that holds a very dear place in my heart, so when I say this, I'm not grinning or happy. I'm saying something that I'm sad about. The fact that this game has practically nothing that I used to enjoy is actually very sad for me, and it's a completely new direction that, in my opinion, makes no sense. Bottom line here, I have enjoyed basically nothing about this game, to an extent where it's not even worth finishing. You can criticize it for the woke aspects, sure, but to me it's just lost. It's an attempt at forging a new path for the Dragon Age franchise that alienates people like me, prior fans, while also reducing what was previously a complex storytelling narrative and combat experience down to a pale shadow of its former self. It feels like it shouldn't even be in the same category. Some people like it, which is fine, I guess, but in my opinion, this is a 4 out of 10 at best, and really seems to have missed the mark in every.
When a fan says that, you kind of fucked up. A 4? Yeah. Yeah. If I'm like drunk, a 5, I guess. But yeah, this is not a good game.
Every single fundamental category. There's actually no better way to describe it. This is a game for the lowest of the low common denominator. I do not recommend this game. I will not be finishing it, and I hope that BioWare goes back to some semblance of what used to make their games good, hopefully. Because despite the level of commercial success that this has achieved, and it is commercially successful, that's just a fact, don't let people tell you it's not, I view it to be a disappointing display of reductive storytelling / combat design that is completely unenjoyable and bland. I was not challenged, I was not engaged, and I was thoroughly unimpressed. That's it. If you want to support the channel, check out the links down below.
So, to summarize this entire video, the mechanics are similar to Elden Ring. I wouldn't, nah. This is like some weird amalgamation of like one of those other Lord of the Rings games, and Mass Effect Andromeda, just way worse. Drunk? Didn't you say you don't drink alcohol? I said if I were to drink alcohol, if I was drunk. I don't drink alcohol. But if I were drunk, potentially. I never was drunk once though. This is just an empty husk of what Dragon Age originally was. And it's disappointing to see, but again, they cannot create; they can only destroy. That's how this works. Because they can't create new stuff because it would fail.